I'm filming in.
Oh, you're not filming yet? Okay, yeah.
Come on, go.
Okay, film. You filming?
Yeah.
And the other one?
I'm right now. Hold on. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. George, man, what's up?
Not much, how are you?
I'm chilling. I mean, this is about you, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so.
This is all about you, George.
Don't want to steal the show.
Here we go. Just making sure everything works then, and looks like everything's good to go. Yeah? Okay, George, I mean, first of all, introduce yourself. You're an explorer, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess. So I'm George Kefford. I'm Australian. I'm an explorer. Study here at Leiden University. I wrote a book about 2 years ago.
What's that book called?
It's called Walking the Holy Land. So about 2.5 years ago, I walked across Israel, Palestine and Jordan. It was a journey of 800 kilometers, all alone. I was 17 at the time. And yeah, since then, and before then as well, I've just been walking around the various countries in the world, sort of meeting people, getting interesting stories, and yeah, taking life sort of one footstep at a time.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, what got you started?
So basically, I'd always wanted to be a professional cricketer, and I was doing all right, and then I got a bad knee injury. And you know, whether or not I would have made it to professional, I'm not sure. Probably not. But
Nah, you would have.
but yeah, so I had to sort of give up that, and when I had my sort of big cast on my leg,
which everyone has that injury that ruins your football career.
Exactly, it's a bit cliche, isn't it?
You always go to the store and you meet someone. Yeah, I could have went pro, every other guy.
I was almost professional, but that damn knee injury.
And yeah, so I was watching this program called Walking the Nile. It was on Discovery Channel or something in Australia, and there's this English fellow called Levison Woods. He was walking the entire length of the River Nile from Uganda to Egypt, and that was sort of like, okay, let's put the sport dreams aside. Let's do something else, and that was something that I really just wanted to do, just walk around, meet new people. I loved hiking, I loved the Bear Grylls and all that when I was younger as well, so it was just sort of putting all those things together, combining sort of travel with survival, with story finding out, I suppose, and yeah, it sort of culminated in my first couple of walks, and then took it overseas, and yeah, that was Walking the Holy Land.
And you are specifically interested in the Middle East, right?
Yeah. So I study Arabic at university. The Middle East is a place that I've been interested in for a very, very long time. It all started with just looking at the news, looking at current affairs and everything, and then, you know, other things. Like I loved Lawrence of Arabia. It's one of my favourite movies, and all of those things coming together, it was just like the Middle East. That's the place I want to study. I want to find out more about and go to. So I want to learn Arabic so I can go to the Middle East, do these walks, do these adventures, and meet the local people and find out what they really think about everything, and hopefully sort of bring that to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this summer you had planned a trip.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So this summer I went to Lebanon with the aim to walk across the country. Didn't go to plan. We'll get into that later. But yeah, instead of walking across Lebanon, I ended up walking across Cyprus. I cut the Lebanon walk short after 2 days of walking. And yeah, so Cyprus it was instead. So I started on the northern side, the Turkish side of the island, and then went to the south. Yeah. And
I mean, how many walks have you gone on so far?
I've honestly got no idea. I'm gonna say maybe 10. I try to do one every holiday. I did a few before the first Middle East one back in Australia, but those were small scale ones. But I've done, Holy Lands, Malta. I've done the Camino de Santiago. Cyprus now, the failed one in Lebanon. I walked across the Netherlands even when I moved here. So yeah, any country that I can walk across, I will walk across. You know, yeah.
How old were you in the first one?
The one in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean,
I was 17. Yeah.
17.
So when we were on vacation with our parents, maybe trying to drink a pina colada at the pool, you were walking.
Yeah. I was walking in the Middle East.
That's not bad. How was that one then? 17 all alone going through. I mean,
it was great. It was scary at times, you know, especially leaving the airport in Australia, saying goodbye to my family and everything. I sort of had no idea what I was getting myself into. But yeah, got to got to the Middle East, and it was all relatively smooth sailing from there. A couple of instances, falling down little screech slopes and almost, going off the end and where there's a cliff, and having a can of Pepsi thrown at the back of my head in one of the Palestinian refugee camps because they think I'm a Jew. But these things happen, and but no, it all sort of eventually works out. Yeah.
Can I ask you, what do your parents think about this? My parents would be terrified if I said I was going to walk around alone in the Middle East. What are their thoughts about this?
Yeah, and mine too, really. My mum hates it, but my dad, I don't think he's the biggest fan of it, but he sort of sees I think he does a pretty good job of reassuring my mum most of the time. He sort of knows that these countries aren't as bad as the media maybe makes them out to be. He teaches history, so yeah, parents don't like it, but they put up with it, I suppose. Yeah.
Safer than what they portray in the media then.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a nice segue into what happened to you this summer. You sure you want to make sure you don't contradict yourself?
Yeah, because we can talk about how the hospitality of people there, and that is completely different from us. We talked about how if you would step up on a door and in the Netherlands and ask, "Hey, can I sleep over here?" It would probably be a no and slam of the door.
Yeah.
So how is the hospitality?
It's second to none. The Arab hospitality is incredible. The people are so kind, so sort of welcoming to foreigners, and whether it was Palestine, Jordan, Morocco, or even I didn't really get the opportunity to in Lebanon, but those opportunities did present themselves. I just wasn't able to take them, and it was just they're sort of a bit perplexed to see this sort of young fellow walking through the Middle East, this ajnabi, this sort of foreigner, and yeah, they just they let me in. They want to hear my stories, find out what I'm doing, and give me hospitality for the night. So it's great. Yeah.
Do you have any crazy stories of very generous hospitality?
I mean, it's nothing. I mean, the first time it happened, I thought it was absolutely insane that I could just rock up in this town and get a place to sleep, and that in my mind was crazy. But then it's just happened so often now. It's almost killed the craziness of it. But looking back on it, it's like, especially as sort of, as he said, like if there was a Jordanian walking in the street in the Netherlands, like, and he needs a place to sleep, I don't think the Dutch would probably let him sleep in their house. But it's the complete opposite over there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a story in your book about when you walked the Holy Land. There were two guys that were messing with you a bit, and you ruffled them up a bit. You want to tell that story? That's a good one.
Yeah. So I was in the very south of Jordan, and I was playing some German rap from my phone. I was just I could speak a bit of German at the time, and I was just like, yeah, it's a good song to walk to, I suppose. And but these two sort of young Jordanian shepherds didn't sort of appreciate my music taste, I don't think. And yeah, they tried to take my phone from me. They were sort of threatening to throw it off a little cliff, and I was like, oh, come on guys, that's how I navigate, that's how I contact everyone. And yeah, they weren't budging, so I had to try and convince them in my very, very basic Arabic at that stage. Like, I was just trying to tell them, what would God think of this? And eventually they gave me my phone back, but then they sort of regretted it, so they started kicking my backpack, kicking my legs, that sort of thing. So I had to give the sort of more aggressive one a bit of a sort of quite a strong punch into the stomach.
Jesus. Where'd you learn that, George?
A lower cut.
Yeah. And because I didn't want to, if I hit him in the head, then obviously he could knock out, and then hit his head on the tarmac or whatever, that could be bad. But if I just wind him, then I send him a strong message just to leave me alone, and I can walk away. But yeah.
After that, you just walked away.
After that, yeah.
No complaints from the neighbors.
No, there were no neighbours around. Okay. But yeah, they did try to throw some stones at me after, when I was a good sort of 50 meters away, but none of them hit me. So,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. We had a few questions on the Instagram story. We wanted people to ask you questions if they had any, and we had one from Septic asking, how do you go about starting? I mean, what are your first priorities, tools that you bring those kind of things? Like when you just start off a walk, how do you plan it?
Yeah, so I plan. Basically, I come up with the idea in my head. So I sort of pick a country where I want to do a walk, and then look for if there might be a river that I might want to follow, or there might be some ancient route, like in Portugal, like the Camino de Santiago, and then yeah, it's just a combination of Google Maps, Google Earth, Google Docs, planning out where I'm going to be every day and everything, and then once you get there, that's the easy part. You just sort of walk to that town where you wanted to go, find a place to sleep, and then do it the next stage. But the planning is very important. You got to know sort of what challenges you might come across in the different villages and everything that you'll come across. So
And how long do you plan for then before a trip? A couple of months?
yeah, usually a couple of months.
Yeah.
The first one in the Middle East was a good sort of half year. I knew I wanted to do something after I graduated high school. I wasn't quite sure what it would be, but yeah, it was a good 6 months of working out what visas I need and if I can get those visas by crossing borders or whatnot. So yeah, usually a couple months. But yeah.
What's the necessities? What do you have to bring with you in your backpack?
So I've always got this this sort of satellite messenger, and that's just a good way. If my phone doesn't have reception or it's out of charge or whatever, I can just sort of send a message to my parents so they know where I am every day, and that just goes through that goes to the satellite to America and then to whatever number or email I send it to. That's quite important. Other things, couple pairs of underwear, couple pairs of socks. Yeah, no, I try to travel much lighter these days. I don't bring a tent anymore. I'd rather just sort of sleep out under the stars, and that means I don't have to pay for baggage when I get the flight as well. So
No.
So yeah, I try to keep it as limited as possible.
What's the I mean, going on that question, I mean, like what's the deciding factor for a country that you're gonna pick? Because you picked the Holy Land. I think you went across Morocco at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you pick these countries? Is there a reason, or you just nice?
It's just like a country I'm interested in, country I want to go to, and you know, you'll see sort of YouTube vloggers and everything going to the main cities and everything. It's just like there's another side of that country that isn't getting the coverage that maybe it deserves or whatnot. So I want to go there, find out for myself what it's all about, and but yeah, it's just finding a country, whether it sounds right in my head, and then going. Yeah.
That easy.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's let's segue a bit then to your last route, your last journey.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you plan it out? I mean, what was it like from the beginning to the end? I mean.
Yeah. So I aim to walk across Lebanon from Naoura to Tripoli in the north of the country, and yeah, it was supposed to all be sort of smooth sailing and everything. I went to Lebanon the 20th of August and hoped that it would be a not an easy walk, but certainly a doable walk. And Lebanon's a country that is basically going through the shit at the moment. It's not going well at all, to put it lightly. And I thought basically I'll go there, try and find out what's happening, try and sort of tell the world. I had planned to make a vlog about it, to write another book about it, but didn't go to plan. I needed to get military permission to go to the south of the country, and I did get that permission. But on the first night, the Mukhabarat al-Jaysh, or like the secret police, they basically got spooked by the fact that I was walking next to the border with Israel, and they decided to drive me back to a different city and say you can start from there. So that's what I did the next day, and then I got to this village called Dias, and I was walking along this road trying to get to my final destination for the day, and this car pulled up alongside me. I'd met one of the guys in the car earlier. He actually gave me a pomegranate. It's the first time I've ever eaten a pomegranate too. They're bloody tasty. but yeah, so I recognised him, and they were saying, get in the car, you got to come with us if we want to have a talk to you. I'm like, I don't know you guys, I want to walk. And they said, no, you can't walk, it's dangerous, there are wolves around here, hyenas as well. And I was like, yeah, okay, but like it's only 5 kilometres to the nearest town, I'm sure I'll be fine and everything. They weren't budging, so they said, okay, all right, we'll talk to you here, just stop, we'll get out our car. And they're talking to me on the side of the road, and then basically a crowd started forming. People from the local village started coming and trying to sort of work out what's happening, sniffing out everything, and then the guy picked up my backpack, chucked it in his car, and sort of pulled up the side of his shirt to reveal he's got a pistol there, and just sort of said, get in, and yeah. Oh, shit.
He really did the slow pull
Yeah,
up of a t-shirt
exactly.
and show, hey.
I mean, what were you feeling then? Like, I mean, you must have been shitting yourself, right?
Yeah,
At least.
exactly. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Because I had no idea who these people were, but they could have just been like robbers. You know, they see a Westerner, he's got money. Lebanon virtually doesn't have any money now, so that might just been. I was thinking, okay, they're just going to rob me. Then I called one of my mates when I was in the car. He's Syrian, and he actually writes for the Bernese, and then he sort of told me, okay, these guys are from a group. I won't mention the name of the group, but they're an active sort of paramilitary / terrorist group in the south of Lebanon, especially. And yeah, they said, he said, okay, just they're with them. Be sympathetic to them. Be kind to them. You might have a rough night, but it should all be okay. I was like, okay, all right. I was expecting this to happen. I was expecting to run into the group. I was hoping that I would find them before they found me, so I could, get their permission and everything to sort of walk through. But circumstance had it that they found me first, and I spoke to this guy when I was in the car. He was, he said, because they couldn't speak English very well, and so he's this Scottish fella, and he's on the phone. He's got a Glaswegian accent, and he's saying, who are you, where are you from, what are you doing here? And I'm telling him exactly what I'm doing, and I ask him, oh, where are you from, mate? You sound Scottish. And then he's like, it doesn't fucking matter where I'm from, shut up. I was like, oh jeez, alright mate, sorry. He's like, I'm not your fucking mate, stop laughing. I was like, okay, alright, this could be
No jokes are going to work today.
Yeah, exactly. I can't charm anyone else, so I was like, oh no. So they took me to this house. Lebanon's basically every house in Lebanon only has power for about 3 hours a day, so it's pitch black inside, and they've all got sort of head torches on and everything. So it's quite intense, quite scary. But they make me unpack my bag. I have to strip off and everything. They go through everything that I've got, and they were under the assumption that I was either a spy for Israel or that I was working with Israeli intelligence in some other way. They went through my phone, and I'd been taking pictures and everything, and I sent one of the pictures I took to my mate who I called in the car, and they were then convinced that he was an Israeli general and that I was working with him. And I was saying all along, no, I'm an Australian, I'm walking through here, I'm just trying to explore Lebanon. And they wouldn't really believe me. It took them a long time to believe me. And when they were saying, we know you're lying, we know you're an Israeli, that was like, okay, I knew this group wouldn't kill me, but I didn't know exactly how long they would keep me for or whatever. And people are going to start stressing after even one night if they haven't heard from me. But eventually they let me go. Eventually they believed me, and
what was the turning point in them believing in you? And also, how did you communicate in Arabic? Or?
Yeah. So I did start in a bit of English, but then their English wasn't good, so I sort of switched to my very limited Arabic. And
how limited you think?
Hey,
how limited you think?
Too limited. For almost 2 years study, too limited. And so I started speaking to them in Arabic, and then at that point that makes them think even more that I'm an Israeli spy. An Israeli spy is going to be able to speak Arabic. So they then start only using Arabic, Lebanese Arabic as well. So it's a dialect of Arabic which I'm not too familiar with. But when I was almost in sort of life or death mode, everything was quite slow motion, and that sort of helped me understand as much as I could from them. it really did feel like my life depended on how good my Arabic was at some stages, and it's amazing how much I understood from that. I mean, if only, you know, I'd done all my Arabic tests under that sort of stress, you know, maybe I'd get a better grade for it. But yeah, it was quite frightening. But yeah, eventually they decided to let me go.
But how long did you stay there then?
It was about 5 hours. Yeah, from pickup to release. They released me, and I think was it one? I think around midnight. Yeah, around midnight they let me go. But yeah, it was. And when they let me go, one of the fellows who was interrogating me I hopped on the back of his moped, and he drove me to this village and said, okay, get a taxi from here to Sword, which is the village, the city I started at earlier in the day. And yeah, from there I decided not to go there though, because Sword is a city that this group are very, very active in. And
so you decided to not go there even though he told you to?
Yeah, so I overpaid massively for a taxi to Beirut. Beirut's was the safest place for me to be, so I just needed to, because I did lie about certain things in the interrogation. Like, they did ask me, have you been to Palestine before? Obviously I have been, and if they found out that I had been and I'd lied about that, then that's even worse. So I just I've got to get out of Lebanon as soon as possible. So got the not the first, but the sort of somewhat cheapest flight to Cyprus in a couple of days after that. You know.
How much money do you prepare for one of these trips? Because you said you overpaid for a cab. I mean,
yeah.
What if you didn't have the money?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and then I'd be in a world of trouble. So I usually have. I usually work on a budget of about €15 a day, and then I have a bit of emergency money just behind me, just in case. But yeah, ran out quite quickly in Lebanon.
Can I just ask, if to be in a position like this, you don't know what's gonna happen, you're not familiar with it at all. What goes through your head when you're trapped there? You don't know how long they're gonna stay there or what they're gonna do to you. What goes through your head? What's the thoughts?
Life is really stripped down to its basics when it's there. It's like there's no. Everything everything's very black and white. Everything's very, it's, as I said, slow motion in a way. And yeah, it was quite simple in my mind. I didn't need to stress about anything. I didn't really need to stress about. All that was on my mind was just like, how do I get out of this? The walk wasn't important. Where I was going next wasn't important. It was just like, how do I get out of this situation? You know? Yeah.
So that, I mean, going along with that question then, I mean, for most people who haven't been in that situation, what should you do? I mean, you're probably one of the only guys I know who's been in a situation that stressful.
Try not to get yourself into that situation first and foremost. But then, yeah, once you're in it, just try and stay calm. Try and be genuine, or at least come off as genuine. Try and break the ice when you can. Just stay. If you're gonna, they'll know if you're scared, and that's not gonna help you, because in their mind it's like, well, you'd only be scared if you've done something wrong. So you've got to try and stay as calm as possible, and it is hard at times, but you've really just got to try and stay focused. Yeah.
And where'd you go after? Cyprus?
Cyprus, yeah.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed in Cyprus for about just over a week, I think. So I flew to Larnaca, then went to the Turkish side of the island to Kyrenia, and then from Kyrenia I walked for 5 days to Limassol in the south. So yeah, walked across Cyprus instead, which was a lot nicer, to be honest. Yeah,
right.
It turned out good.
Yeah.
And can I ask, my first thought getting out of something like this would be to call my mother. How was it to explain what just happened to her son?
I still haven't yet. Well, no. I've spoken to her about it, but I don't want to talk about the whole thing. I hope she doesn't listen to it.
I was gonna say, is she gonna find out with this podcast?
Yeah, but I haven't spoken to her too much about it, just because I know how much it will stress her, and that's hard in a way, because if there's one person I really want to open up to, it is my mum. But But yeah, I won't just for her own sake, I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
also for the sake of your future, right? I mean, do you plan any other trips in the future? Or?
There are a lot of ideas. Part of me wants to move away from the Middle East for the time being, just because, you know, it's quite a limited scope. If I'm just going to Lebanon or Palestine or Syria maybe or somewhere like that, I want to go somewhere a bit different, a bit sort of spice it up a bit. So I don't know where's next. There won't be anything for the next year, I don't think.
Why is that? Is that because of the situation that you find yourself in? Yeah.
Partially. But then also I just want to get sort of proper good sort of recording equipment so I can make good vlogs, good documentaries about these walks as well, and just sort of focus on sort of other things for the time being. But I will be back on the road eventually, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Any Southeast Asia maybe?
Southeast Asia is a possibility. Yeah. I've always wanted to do something in Indonesia maybe. So maybe walk across one of them islands, but yeah, who knows at the time being.
We do have some people who wanted to ask questions. Some of them we've answered, but okay. So Septic asks, did you speak Arabic when you went to Jordan?
When I went to Jordan, I didn't speak much Arabic at all. I learned how to read half of the alphabet, but that's pretty useless if you don't know how to read the other half. So basic greetings. My name is. I walk from here to here, but that was it when I was in Jordan and Palestine. Yeah.
He also asks, I think we asked this already, how do you basically organize a trip by foot? What are the essential things you bring?
Yeah, so as I said, my satellite phone, a few changes of clothes, and usually a map if I can get a map. Otherwise, I use a GPS. But yeah, those are the main things.
Okay. Bit of a funny one. Sebastian Wright asks, how did you meet chicks when you're there? If any, that is, right?
No, yeah, well, that's the point. Yeah, none.
So easy answer.
Yeah, I mean, I get pretty stinky on these walks. So I mean, the hospitality I get is even more spectacular considering how bad I smell.
Yeah.
And certainly not attractive to any of the ladies.
Sebastian, there's your answer, man. So Ricky Seaman asks, tell the whole story of walking Lebanon and what happened. We went through that. So Ricky, if you're interested, play back part 1. You'll see it. Taisir, he asks, how are you even alive?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, to be honest. I guess luck, really. I mean, I haven't come to too many life or death situations, but yeah, certainly there's a bit of luck involved in everything. There is always the possibility of stuff going drastically wrong, and sometimes it does, but not that wrong yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
Let's make sure it doesn't happen. Yeah. Taisir asks one question. What's your thoughts on Lebanon at the moment?
Yeah, it's in a bit of a bad situation.
To say the least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the price of fuel is through the roof. $1, I think about 2 years ago, $1 was about 2,000 Lebanese lira. It's now about 20,000 Lebanese lira.
Wow.
So so the official rate is still, because it's pegged with the US dollar, so the official rate is still 2,000 lira, but there's a huge black market now for the US dollar in Lebanon. So if you bring US dollars, you are gonna be fairly well off. But if not, I mean, the Lebanese people are really, really suffering. And the other thing with Lebanon is, like many countries in the Middle East, it's a playground for the major world powers. You know, Israel's getting involved, Saudi's getting involved, Iran, America, Russia, all these different powers getting involved, trying to sort of get their own sort of claim on parts of Lebanon, and ultimately it's the Lebanese people who suffer, you know. Yeah.
And after these, as your book is a holy walk, have you become more religious? Have you become less?
Yeah, I think I have become more religious. I have always been a Christian, and it's weird. It's quite. It can be quite hard to talk about faith sometimes because it is a very, very personal thing. But I think whether or not it's the walks that makes me brings me closer, or something else, or a combination, certainly. But like when I was in Palestine, you know, I was basically following the route that Jesus walked when he was walking from Nazareth down to Jerusalem, and then in Jordan I was walking the reverse route of what Moses did from Egypt up to Mount Nebo where he's buried, and yeah, it can sort of be like, you know, God give me the strength to walk up this hill just as you gave Moses the strength to walk up this hill, or the Israelites to walk up this hill, and so that can help, you know, going to the churches and everything, and certainly seeing like you know, this is the area where where Christianity essentially happened. Whether or not that makes my faith more or not, I'm not sure, but it certainly, I'd say, yeah, it certainly does help my faith a bit, but it's more just a struggle of the walk, and that can bring me closer. Yeah.
And I mean, you're also not just religious, but you're actually one of the few people I know that found religion. You weren't always religious throughout your entire life.
So I was born and raised Anglican. When I was 12, 13, I maybe went atheist for about a year, and then found it again, just through reading and finding out things online, and yeah, since then I've tried. I haven't obviously tried enough and everything, but yeah, it is a part of my life that I do increasingly care a lot about, you know.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
has it shaped the way, I mean, even these walks, have they shaped the way you see life? I mean, you approach it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, seeing people with virtually nothing makes you sort of appreciate what you've got a lot more. And but apart from that, I mean, it's just there is quite a surreal sort of effect that sort of complete open road sort of lifestyle has on you. Yeah, it is great. It sort of makes you feel a lot more free, and you bring it back. And sometimes it can be hard coming back from a trip. You know, you've just had ultimate freedom, just you and the road, and then you get back here and it's the hustle and bustle of university, of work and all sorts. And so it can be hard sometimes, but I think it makes me a better person after each one, I think.
Yeah, and as for the walk and this freedom, I'm a Norwegian, and walking in the mountains is something, even though you're not religious or not spiritual at all, it kind of awakens something in your body.
Yeah.
And it must be coming back from this and then coming back to the normal life, buildings, trams, everything's robotic, everything moves, you have to follow a system.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference of maybe doing the walk and then coming back here to the normal student's life?
So I mean, they're sort of good differences and bad differences. Like I miss, you know, sleeping in a bed for, you know, 2 nights or more, and that's what I get back here, of course. But I don't like the whole sort of the hedonistic sort of life that basically most people in the West live, students and others. And when I'm on these walks, it is essential. All that's on my mind is, you know, where am I going to get water? Where am I going to get food? Where am I going to sleep? You strip life right down to the basics, and everything else sort of becomes irrelevant. And that's something that's great. I do love that. Yeah.
Damn.
Damn
indeed. Well, I mean, George, if you have any other final points, I mean, where you approach life, philosophy of it, recommendations for anyone who might want to walk the Holy Land like you did. If you have any kind of...
No, I mean, of course, earlier this year there was a lot of trouble going on in Palestine. But there is the route that I followed in Palestine is called the Palestine Heritage Trail, and it's a hiking trail that I encourage anybody who wants to go to Palestine. Anybody should do that walk. It's absolutely beautiful. You can stay in homestays the whole time. You don't have to camp out. You'll meet beautiful people along the way. See beautiful mountains. Go past shrines, churches, mosques, even ancient synagogues and everything from way back in the day. But yeah, I definitely recommend that. Jordan as well. That you've got the Jordan Trail. I think it's one of the top 10 walks in the world by National Geographic or something like that. And I followed that for parts of my journey. So yeah, no, definitely recommend those sort of walks. Yeah.
And you talked about for the future, for future walks. If there's one dream walk, the one walk you would really like to do in the future.
I really really do want to go to Syria.
Yeah.
Really, that is.
Why?
Just because the sort of the Levant, sort of the Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. That is the region that I do sort of love the most. That I love researching and finding out more about. And Syria is now just sort of coming out of the civil war. It's sort of returning to normality, whatever that's going to look like. And yeah, I think there is untapped potential for a walk in Syria that could really sort of showcase a lot of the different parts of the country to the world.
Is there also an appeal to kind of the chaos of it all? I mean, the disorganization, the risk that is involved. I mean, do you kind of get attracted to that?
Certainly in the early stages, there was a lot more of a sort of adrenaline junkie sort of motivation. But the motivation now, and part of the reason I want to sort of reconsider sort of where I do this and how I do it and everything is ultimately I want to go there and speak to the people and find out what the people think and show that to the rest of the world. You know, we get a very one-fold sort of analysis of those sort of regional affairs through the traditional media outlets, and you know, if there's something I can do to sort of showcase a different side to the region, then that's definitely what I want to do. But yeah, certainly in the early stages it was like me against nature, me against the people, me not against the people but sort of against the elements. I wanted to challenge myself, but now it's more about going there, finding a story and bringing it to the rest of the world. Yeah.
Okay, well, George, thanks so much. I mean, I appreciate it. If you don't have any last thoughts, let me know. I think we're up with the questions. But guys, those listening to the podcast, those watching on YouTube, on Instagram, or wherever, go check out George's book. It's available on eBay, Amazon.
It's on Amazon. You can get a e-copy there. I think they've still got hard copies in stock as well. So yeah, Walking the Holy Land.
Walking the Holy Land.
It's about €10, and for the hard copy, I think €2 or €3 for the E1.
And if you jump up in the Bernese magazine, he'll sign it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, anyone in The Hague who wants a signed book, if you get one yourself from the internet, I'll happily sign it for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining
George,
us,
thanks, man. Hey,
really interesting.
Stay safe, man. Stay safe.
Right.
Okay, hey, take care, man.